He was on the air for 13 memorable years at KNUZ, KQUE, KTRH before moving to KRBE in 1975, and KILT in 1980. KODA called and Paul went to work there in 1983, and then on to KPRC in 1983.
Radio 1230 KNUZ.
I'm Paul.
And I'm Paul.
And I'm Paul Williams.
When we're in Houston, we dig the sounds of the Paul Williams Show.
Paul's cute.
And so is Paula.
Hey, hey.
No, you don't get out of here. 6 minutes before 8 o'clock on the Paul Wild Child Williams Friday session. Chopping wood down tonight. 61 degrees downtown. Big H now. In case you missed it earlier, cloudy to partly cloudy and mild through Saturday, the official weather meteorological prognostication for this particular metropolitan area.
In 1992, he decided to move into sales at Univision Radio, where he was a senior account executive for 18 years. Paul once told folks, quote, "I enjoyed being the wild child in the early 1960s at KNUZ. KNUZ and KILT were the two top 40 radio stations in the market. We had many battles for the #1 slot. Many of the DJs on the air then are now in the Texas Radio Hall of Fame. We're all friends now and often fight the old battles of the early 1960s verbally. Those were the fun days of radio," unquote. Paul is no longer with us, having left us in February of this year. But his warm smile and the sound of his voice will be with us for a long, long time. Ladies and gentlemen, today we honor Paul Williams, a 2010 inductee of the Texas Radio Hall of Fame.
Hello there. I'm the daughter of the wild child. You can tell because I like the spotlight like he did. I have my siblings with me today, my brother Curry, my brother Stephen, and my sister Laura, but they always put me as the front man. This was a tough week. I wanted to call Dad. I wanted to cuss him out because I couldn't think of the names of everybody, the dates of certain things that I knew he would want to say today because I knew he'd want to say a lot. And after I got done being mad at him, I just let that go and said a little prayer, and this is what we came up with. Paul Williams discovered early on in life that he had a knack for entertaining folks. With his witty words, keeping his cousins on their toes as a boy, he did the play-by-play while everybody was out there playing sports in the front yard. He was already holding the stick and doing the play-by-play. He liked the sound of his voice, and he liked entertaining them. In fact, he liked entertaining in any situation he was in. It was only natural that he would seek the Tyler radio station some 50 years ago as the platform to entertain the teens of the city of Tyler. And then in Galveston and Houston, Paul truly loved every moment he was on the air. I know because I heard about every moment. He was on the air as either wonderful Paul Williams, WPW, in Tyler, broadcasting in his underwear. Randy Robbins called this week to remind me of that. He was on the 8th floor at either KDOC or KGKB, and I guess he got a little too animated and sweaty and hot, and he was going to do it just in his underwear. So, and Randy said to this day, of all his years in radio, that was one of the people he always looked up to the most of all the disc jockeys who ever spun the wax. To his years as the Wild Child, and he said he stole that name from someone, but it fit him really well. As the Wild Child in K-News, as one of the Southern gentlemen there, and with all the public appearances he enjoyed so very much. I have pictures that just show you can tell he did not want the night to end. And while he would have probably preferred to remain on air for many years to come, there were mouths to feed, including mine. So he would have to move to sales. And the entertainer excelled at sales because he was still naturally entertaining. Clients loved him. I bet some even bought advertising just because of Paul, like Keith Jacobson. Wink, wink. His last 18 years in radio were spent with Univision. And as I stood in his cubicle this past February, visiting with the sales staff, I can tell you, they may miss the revenue that Paul generated in sales, but way beyond that, they were missing the character of Paul Williams. They were missing the, and knew there would be a void of the Papa Bear with charisma, who cared about their lives, their kids, their accounts, their tough economic times. He was the heart of that sales staff and their comic relief at times. So, for this honor and recognition of Paul's 50 years in Texas radio, I would like to, on his behalf, thank my great-great-aunt for purchasing that first radio Dad would tell the stories of listening to and getting the sound of how that voice would go and how he would try to make his mimic it all those years later. The first station manager who hired Dad there in Tyler, and the one who taught him how to work the board. The second manager who hired him at KGKB after he threw a whiskey bottle through the window of their station. That's a fun story we told at the memorial service. I'd like to thank Dave Morris for hiring Dad at K-News, for Archie Yancey and Dave Ward for keeping Dad alive while he was at K-News during his wild years. The numerous stations he worked in sales those 30 years. And Gary Stone for taking a chance on Dad at his last stop at Univision. I'd also like to thank Mark, Susie, and Tina for keeping Dad alive the last 10 years at Univision. Thanks to all his cronies like Harold Gunn, Don Armstrong, and Walt Hammock, who drummed up the votes every year, as Dad would hope every year was the year he'd get into the Hall of Fame. This just has to be killing him that he's not down here to tell you how much he wanted to be here today. And for all of you who voted this year and put him here. And I know he would thank his family for their love and support, especially during some of his harder years. And finally, he would thank God for letting him have a blessed career like this in the radio business and all the friends he was given. Thank you so much.